There's a kind of silence that follows the loss of a spouse. Not just the quiet of an empty chair or a still bedroom. It's deeper than that. It's the silence of making decisions alone, of facing paperwork, phone calls, and questions you never thought you'd have to answer by yourself. If you've lost your partner, or even just thought about what that day might be like, you already know nothing truly prepares you. Not the books, not the advice, not even the years you spent talking about what if. Because when it finally happens, it doesn't feel like theory. It feels like everything in the world just changed, and now you're expected to hold it all together. But here's the truth. In those first few days and weeks, when you're still trying to breathe, you'll be asked to make choices, big ones. And some of those choices, if made too quickly or under pressure, can cost you dearly. Not just financially, but emotionally, legally, relationally. That's why I want you to stay with me today. In this video, we're going to gently walk through 5 mistakes you should never say yes to after your spouse passes away. Mistakes that are common, understandable, and incredibly easy to fall into, especially when you're grieving. And I want to say this gently, but clearly. It's okay if you feel lost right now. It's okay if your heart is heavy, your mind scattered. You don't need to have it all figured out. But you do deserve to be protected from rushed decisions, from unnecessary losses, and from well-meaning advice that might do more harm than good. So before we go any further, let me offer this simple encouragement. If this video brings you comfort or clarity, or even just a moment of peace, please click that subscribe button or share it with someone else walking through this kind of loss. You never know whose future you might protect just by passing this along. And now, let me ask you something. Have you ever been told, in the middle of your grief, you should sell the house? Or, you need to move on quickly? Or maybe someone handed you a pen and a stack of papers and said, sign here, before you'd even finished the funeral arrangements. It happens more than you'd believe. In fact, the days and weeks after losing a spouse are some of the most vulnerable moments in a person's life. Emotions are raw, memories flood in, and the pressure to do something, anything, can push us into decisions we later regret. But not you. Not now. Because today, we're going to slow things down. We're going to breathe. We're going to talk through what not to say yes to, so that you can protect the life you've worked so hard to build, even in the middle of heartbreak. This isn't just about money. It's about honoring what you shared with your spouse, and taking the time to move forward with wisdom, not fear. So pour yourself a cup of something warm, settle into a chair, and stay close as we begin with the first mistake many widows and widowers make, often before they've even had a chance to grieve properly. In the early days after your spouse passes, you'll find yourself surrounded by voices, some quiet, some loud, all with advice. Some of it may come from love, some from pressure, and some, if we're honest, from confusion. But one of the most common and costly mistakes people make during this time is saying yes to major financial decisions before they're ready. And let me tell you, being ready is not something you can rush. You may hear things like, you should sell the house, or you don't need that big place anymore, or it's time to downsize. Or maybe someone suggests that you invest your life insurance payout, switch your bank accounts, or sign documents you don't fully understand. Please, pause. Grief is not the time for big moves. It's the time to gather, to breathe, to let your heart catch up with what just happened. Your judgment, no matter how capable you've always been, is clouded right now. That's not weakness. That's the nature of love and loss. If someone asks you to sign something involving money, say no for now. Even if it seems simple, even if they say it's urgent, even if it's coming from your own children or closest friends, tell them gently, I'm not ready to make that decision yet. And if they push, that's a sign you really need to wait. Because these decisions, they echo. You might sell a home you actually needed, or cash out a policy before understanding the tax impact, or make a financial move that ends up closing a door you didn't realize you would one day want open. Let me ask you something. Have you felt this pressure already? Has someone offered you help that felt more like a push? If so, you're not alone. And you're not being ungrateful by slowing down. You're being wise. Leave a comment below if this has happened to you or someone you know, or if you've ever made a big decision during grief that you later wished you had waited on. These are the conversations that help others feel less alone in their experience. And if this message is helping you pause, helping you breathe, helping you protect yourself, then I gently ask, subscribe to this channel, or share this video with someone who's facing decisions they don't feel ready for. This might be exactly what they need to hear. Now, does that mean you should do nothing after your spouse passes? No, there are some steps that do need your attention, small, measured, gentle steps, like gathering documents, notifying your spouse's pension provider, understanding what's in their will. But these are not decisions. These are preparations. When it comes to big financial moves, selling, investing, transferring, gifting, wait. Wait until your emotions have settled. Wait until you've spoken to a trusted advisor who doesn't have a stake in the outcome. Wait until you can think without tears in your eyes. Time doesn't heal everything, but it does give clarity. And in our next moment together, we're going to talk about another costly mistake, one that doesn't involve your bank account, but can shake the very foundation of your relationships. So please, stay close. Grief has a way of wrapping itself around us like a heavy blanket. It softens the world's colors, quiets our steps, and often, without us even realizing it, pulls us inward. After your spouse passes, there's a part of you that might feel like turning away from everyone, closing the door, skipping the phone calls, saying, I just need some time alone. And of course, some solitude is good, even necessary. But there is a fine line between healing silence and harmful isolation. And one of the most costly mistakes people make after losing their spouse is saying yes to the kind of withdrawal that shuts out the very people who could help carry them forward. Let me say it clearly, loneliness is not loyalty. Choosing to live again does not dishonor your spouse. Answering the phone does not erase the past. Sitting down at someone else's dinner table, even when it feels strange, is not a betrayal. It's a lifeline. You see, grief plays tricks on the mind. It tells us that no one understands, that others are tired of hearing us talk about our loss, that we should stay quiet and strong. But the truth is, you were never meant to carry this alone. When your spouse passes, your routines shatter. The conversations over coffee, the grocery list planning, the quiet moments of knowing someone is nearby, even if no words are spoken, all of that disappears overnight. And it's natural to feel like pulling back until the ache isn't so sharp. But if you say yes to isolation, day after day, week after week, it begins to reshape you. The silence gets heavier. The days stretch longer. The grief that needed air to breathe begins to settle in like dust on unopened windows. So I want to gently ask you, when was the last time you let someone in? Not just to the house, but to your heart? When was the last time you said yes to lunch, even if your appetite wasn't quite there? Or joined that group at church, even if you left early? Or called a friend, just to hear a familiar voice? You don't need to explain your sadness to be with others. You don't need to feel cheerful to accept an invitation. You simply need to show up. Let others remind you, slowly, quietly, that life still holds beauty, that laughter still exists, that your story is not over. And if you've already slipped into isolation, it's not too late. Not at all. Take one step, one walk with a neighbor, one reply to a text, one seat at a Sunday service, one moment of allowing someone else to carry the silence with you. If you're watching this and feeling the weight of this part, I see you, and I'm so glad you're here. In fact, leave a comment below if you've ever felt like shutting out the world after loss. Your story might be the reason someone else chooses to stay connected. And if this video is helping you feel less alone, if it's opening a small door where the light can come in, please click subscribe. Or send this to someone who may be retreating quietly right now. Your reach could be a rescue. Because one day, you'll sit across from someone who says, I remember when I thought I couldn't face people again, but someone reached out, and I said yes. And that yes might be yours. Next, we'll talk about another subtle mistake, one that comes from good intentions, but can quietly damage the very legacy your spouse left behind. Stay close. There's a moment that comes, sometimes within days, sometimes weeks, after your spouse has passed. You walk into the closet or open a drawer, and you're met with their scent, their handwriting, their watch still lying next to the bed. And then someone, maybe even someone you love, says, "It's time to let go. You should start going through their things." And so often, in an effort to be strong or move forward, you say yes. You begin sorting. You begin boxing. You begin giving away pieces of their life, piece by piece, thinking it's the right thing to do, that it shows strength, that it honors them somehow. But here's what I want you to hear, gently and with care. You don't need to rush this. Saying yes to cleaning out closets, selling their car, donating clothes, or taking down photos too soon can lead to a pain that comes not from grief, but from regret. Because once these things are gone, they don't come back. And what may have felt like just a sweater in the moment might later feel like the one linked to a part of them you're suddenly desperate to hold again. There is no expiration date on love, so why should there be a deadline for remembrance? You are not weak for keeping their chair just as they left it. You are not stuck for holding on to the shirts they wore on lazy Sundays. You are not strange for occasionally opening a drawer just to touch the small things they once touched. This is not about clinging to the past. This is about honoring it. And when the time is truly right, when you can make decisions not out of pressure, but out of peace, you'll know. You'll feel it in your spirit. You'll open that closet, pick up their favorite coat, and instead of breaking down, you'll breathe in and smile softly, saying, "I'm ready now." But if you're not there yet, that's okay. This is your journey, not anyone else's. If someone urges you to clear things out before you're ready, it's okay to say, "Not today." If a well-meaning child or friend offers to box things up, but your heart tightens at the thought, it's okay to say, "Please don't." Let your memories guide your pace, not someone else's discomfort with your grief. And if you're watching this right now, surrounded by boxes or piles you're not ready to sort, pause. Breathe. Let this be your permission slip to wait. You've already lost your spouse. Don't lose their presence in your home before you're ready. And if this part of the message speaks to you, please subscribe to this channel. Share this video with someone who might be feeling rushed to let go before their heart is ready. These gentle reminders can be the difference between healing and hurting. You are not failing at grief by keeping things close. You are loving still. Up next, we'll talk about a mistake that many make with good intentions, but it can leave you feeling unprotected, especially in a moment when you need clarity more than anything. Stay close. In the quiet aftermath of loss, advice often rushes in like a tidal wave. Some of it is gentle, some of it is loud, some of it is helpful, and some of it, though wrapped in kindness, can carry consequences that you never saw coming. You see, when your spouse passes away, suddenly everyone seems to have an opinion. Friends, neighbors, even extended family members may come forward with suggestions about what you should do next. They may encourage you to change your will, move your money, combine accounts, sign over property, transfer ownership, or make changes while things are fresh. But I want you to stop and ask yourself one thing. Do I really understand what I'm being asked to do? Because one of the most expensive and painful mistakes a grieving spouse can make is saying yes to advice without fully understanding the long-term impact. This is especially true when it comes to legal matters, financial transitions, and estate planning. For example, you may be told to update the deed on your home without being told how that might affect your taxes. You may be encouraged to add your children to your accounts without knowing how it might impact your privacy or even your Medicaid eligibility in the future. Or you might be told to close all your spouse's accounts quickly, when doing so prematurely could interfere with settling their estate properly. It's not that people are trying to harm you, but the truth is, grief makes us vulnerable. It clouds judgment. It makes us more likely to trust others over ourselves, even when our intuition tells us to wait. Let me say this plainly. No matter how close the person is, no matter how confident they sound, if you don't understand it, don't agree to it. Say, Thank you, I'll think about it. Then take it to someone you trust professionally. Not someone who stands to benefit. Not someone who pressures you with urgency. Someone with the skill and the distance to help you see clearly. And remember, there's no shame in asking questions. In fact, one of the wisest things you can do in this season is ask. Ask until you understand. Ask until you're comfortable. Ask until the peace in your heart matches the signature on the paper. Have you ever felt unsure about something someone advised you to do after your spouse passed? Did you go along with it only to regret it later? Or did you find the strength to pause and ask questions? Share your story in the comments. Someone else is navigating that exact decision right now and needs to know they're not alone. And if this message is giving you strength to speak up, to slow down, or simply to breathe deeper, click that subscribe button. Share this video with someone who's hearing a lot of voices, but unsure which one to trust. Let this be the reminder that their voice, their wisdom, matters too. Because clarity is not something that rushes in. It arrives quietly, with patience, and it grows every time you choose to wait until you fully understand. Up next, we'll walk through one final mistake, one that comes from love, but can end up costing far more than expected if you don't recognize it in time. Please stay close. After the loss of a spouse, it's natural to want to feel connected, and for many, that connection comes through giving. You might feel a strong urge to help your children, grandchildren, or others in your family. You want to see them happy. You want to feel useful. You want to feel that something good can still come from this chapter of pain. But one of the most emotionally complex and financially risky mistakes you can make is saying yes to giving too much, too soon. Maybe a child hints at needing help with a down payment, or a grandchild is starting college, or someone close suggests that it would be easier if they managed your accounts or helped with your bills. In your vulnerability, in your desire to be generous or to simply feel less alone, you may say yes. But here's the truth. Grief is not the time to redistribute a lifetime of work. Because what feels like a gift today might become a loss tomorrow, not just financially, but relationally. You see, when you give from a place of emotional exhaustion or pressure, you often don't give with clear boundaries. And once you've given something away, a home title, a financial account, a portion of your savings, you can't always get it back. This doesn't mean you shouldn't support your family. It doesn't mean you should hoard or withhold. It simply means you should pause and ask, is this what I truly want? Is this the right time? Do I fully understand the long-term effect of this gift, not just on them, but on me? And here's something few people talk about. Sometimes, in grief, giving becomes a form of bargaining. We give because we think it will bring closeness. We give because we think it will ease the pain. We give because we hope, in some way, it will fill the space our spouse left behind. But giving is only truly a gift when it comes from peace, not pressure. Have you ever given something away in a moment of sorrow and later wondered if you did the right thing? Or maybe you're right in the middle of those conversations now, with loved ones gently, or not so gently, asking for pieces of what you and your spouse built together. Let me gently encourage you. It is okay to say, not yet. It is okay to say, I need time. It is okay to protect what you have, even from people you love deeply, not because you don't trust them, but because you are still healing. And giving should never cost you your peace. Leave a comment if you've experienced this kind of pressure, or if you've learned, maybe the hard way, how to say no, or how to wait until your heart was ready. These stories matter more than you know. And if this message is helping you stand firm in what you've built, helping you trust your own timing, then I invite you again to subscribe. Share this with someone who may be leaning too far into generosity before they've had time to rebuild their own foundation. Because true generosity isn't about how much you give away. It's about how much you honor what you've built, and whether what you give brings true harmony to your life. Not more confusion, not more grief. Now that we've walked through these 5 costly mistakes, I want to close our time together with a few final words. Words that I hope will stay with you long after the screen goes dark. Stay with me. If you've made it this far, I want to pause and thank you, not just for listening, but for honoring yourself enough to sit with hard truths in a tender time. Losing a spouse changes everything. It shifts the ground beneath your feet. It turns the simplest moments into unfamiliar ones, and it asks you to live life without the person who helped you carry it. And that is no small thing. But amid the sorrow and confusion, amid the paperwork and quiet evenings, you still have a choice. You can choose to walk slowly. You can choose to listen to your own voice. And most importantly, you can choose to protect the life you've built, even as you learn to live it differently now. Today, we've talked about 5 costly mistakes that don't always look dangerous at first glance. They wear the disguise of helpfulness, of tradition, of generosity, of movement. But underneath, they can lead to decisions that leave you more alone, more vulnerable, or more unsure than before. You don't need to say yes to big financial choices before your grief has settled. You don't need to isolate yourself, even if solitude feels easier. You don't need to give away your spouse's belongings until you're ready, truly ready. You don't need to accept advice you don't fully understand. And you certainly don't need to start handing away what you and your spouse worked a lifetime to build, just to feel useful or close to someone again. What you do need is permission to pause, permission to grieve without pressure, permission to say, I don't know yet, or I'm not ready, or even simply, no. Because grief doesn't follow a schedule, and healing isn't something that can be rushed. Let me say this clearly. You are still the author of this chapter. Even in sorrow, even in uncertainty, you are still wise, still capable, still worthy of moving forward with care and dignity. And if you've already made one of these mistakes, if something in this video stirred a memory of something you wish you could undo, let me say this. It's never too late to choose differently going forward. Regret doesn't define you. It informs you. You are still allowed to take your time. Still allowed to ask questions. Still allowed to take back your voice. And I hope you do. Before we part, if this video has brought you clarity, peace, or simply the feeling that someone out there understands, please subscribe. Share this with someone who may be walking this same road. Someone who might be silently overwhelmed and afraid to admit it. There is strength in community. There is comfort in knowing you are not the only one facing these hard moments. And there is wisdom in walking slowly, hand in hand with grace. Take care of yourself, dear one. Your story isn't over. And your next chapter deserves to be shaped not by pressure, but by purpose. Until next time, stay gentle with yourself. Let grief come and go like waves. And when in doubt, let wisdom lead.